Good evening and welcome. This is a Marion City Council meeting for Thursday, October 4th, 2018. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Draper, Mr. Jensen,
Present.
Mayor Abouassali,
Here.
Ms. Gedalia,
Here.
Mr. Brandt,
Here.
Mr. Sterned.
Present.
Thank you. This time we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay. First item on the agenda this evening is a pinning ceremony. And
Good evening, Council.
good evening.
Deputy Fire Chief Jason Hansen, Marion Fire Department. I'd like to start off by introducing and asking these individuals to come to the front of Council chambers. Ryan Steffen, Nate Rowe, Cody Oberfell, and Jeff Hoover, please. In early 2018, the administrations of the police and fire departments made a decision to combine forces and strive forward with a tactical medic program to continue making the city of Marion one of the most protected and safest cities in the state. Following an extensive selection process in April and May, firefighters Steffen, Rowe, and Oberfell were selected as an elite group of responders known as tactical medics. Firefighter Hoover is the fire department team leader of this group and coordinates the schedule, supplies, and efforts of these individuals alongside the SRT commander. This presentation serves as a notification of the in-service of their position and active status to the Special Response Team of the Marion Police Department. I'd now like to hand over the presentation to SRT Commander Sergeant Mike Rojek so he can provide examples of training these individuals have conquered, on-call duties they may perform, and everyday tasks they are expected to do.
Mayor, Council, appreciate the opportunity to update you guys and acknowledge these TAC medics. As Jason introduced me, I'm Sergeant Mike Rojek with the Marion Police Department. I'm also the TAC team leader for the SRT team. Also like to thank Chief McHale and Chief Trable for their efforts and support in getting this program started. This is, just to point out, this is the first of its kind in the metro area to actually combine fire department, police department in a program like this. These medics successfully completed the testing process, which included the physical agility test and interview process. These three were selected out of a group of 7. Since May, they've attended training with the SRT team twice a month. Part of that training, they completed weapons familiarization, demonstrated proper handling and care of the weapons that we use. They also work with the SRT unit in tactics and how to move the tactics or the medics to an injured officer or an injured citizen. How to apply medical care, and then obviously work on the removal of the injured. The medics also attended a week-long training TEMS program, a week-long TEMS course down in Lenexa, Kansas, and they've used that training. They brought that back, and we're incorporating that in our program here that we got started. They'll continue to train with the SRT on a monthly basis, twice a month, and then pick up any outside training that's offered. We're willing to send to see what they can bring back to us. Some of their duties include, they're not limited to, but they provide critical care to a wounded officer or victim or an innocent bystander They provide training to our members in terms of like self-care, buddy care, the application or use of a tourniquet, the proper application of a tourniquet. They've been instrumental in updating our personal med kits that we would carry with us to make sure that we've got the proper supplies needed to do the self-care or buddy care. And they'll monitor our vitals. They'll check vitals if we're in extreme weather circumstances, whether it be training or whether it be a drawn-out long operation that we're on. They'll continue to monitor our vitals to make sure we don't need or to decide when we need to be phased out for a break. So at this time, again, I want to thank both Chiefs, Cravel and McHale. I know this is, I've talked with Jason before years ago and trying to get something like this started or just floating the idea, but it's nice to actually have it mission ready as we are right now. So we're ready to go. Going to turn it over to Team Leader Hoover. He has a few things to say, and unless there's any questions up to this point, I'll take questions first.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I just want to tell you a little bit about what each of their duties entails. I'll start with Firefighter Rowe, since Chief Hanson's in front of him. Firefighter Rowe has taken on the challenge of teaching medical procedures to the SRT team, as well as the use of their IFACs, so that the officers know what to expect should something happen. Firefighter Rowe will be in charge of training the team on how to assist the tactical medics once the threat has been mitigated. He will also work out scenarios and incorporate them into training with Sergeant Rozek's permission and guidance. He will keep class rosters so that we can keep track of what training has been presented and who has accomplished what. Firefighter Stefan is next. Firefighter Stefan is in charge of inventory of paramedic supplies and equipment that belong to the team. Storage and security of these items are his responsibility. Being sure the proper equipment is ready and able to be deployed is his responsibility. Firefighter Stefan will communicate with Dr. Carter, who's our medical direction, and be sure that SRT standing orders are up to date. He will also use check sheets designed to keep track of the IFACs that the police department carries to make sure the proper equipment is ready to be deployed. Firefighter Oberfall, he's in charge of making sure the team is hydrated and cared for on training dates and missions. He will monitor the medical threat assessment to determine the safe training mission parameters. He may direct vitals to be taken at any time to protect team members in harsh environments or during long turnouts, and call for the rehab if necessary. Environmental safety and planning are under his control. So that's just a brief summary of some of the things they'll be doing. Each one will be teaching each other their duties. So if somebody is unable to respond or unable to fulfill those duties, everyone will be fully on board with what needs to happen. So, thank you.
Let's see the pins.
Well, thank you, and congratulations to each of you on the team. Congratulations to both departments. Once again, you've shown us how it's done, that we're setting a standard for everyone else, collaborating, reaching higher, and improving how we do things to better serve the citizens and to provide for their safety. So thank you and congratulations to all of you. No pictures? Or did somebody take pictures? All right.
It eliminates you from sitting behind and making faces.
I'm about to come down here, though. So. right, we have a proclamation this evening, and I see the chief's are ready to accept the proclamation. This is for Fire Prevention Week. This is a proclamation of the City of Marion. Whereas the City of Marion, Iowa is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Marion. And whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And whereas home fires killed 2,735 people in the United States in 2016, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 352,000 home fires. And whereas the majority of U.S. fire deaths, 4 out of 5, occur at home each year, and the fire death rate was 10% higher in 2016 than in 1980. And whereas Marion's residents should identify places in their home where fires can start and eliminate those hazards, whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, and Marion's residents should install smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, and on every level of the home. And whereas Marion's residents should listen to the sound of the smoke alarm, and when it sounds, respond by going outside immediately to the designated meeting place. And whereas Marion's residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas Marion's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas Marion's residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take action to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2018 Fire Prevention Week theme, Look, Listen, Learn, Be Aware, Fire Can Happen Anywhere, effectively serves to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. Now, therefore, I, Nicholas Abu-Asali, Mayor of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim October 7th through 13th, 2018 as Fire Prevention Week in the city of Marion, Iowa. And I urge all the people of Marion to be aware of their surroundings, look for available ways out in the event of a fire or other emergency, respond when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Marion's fire and emergency services during Fire Prevention Week 2018. There you go. Okay. With that, we'll move on to presentations. We have two presentations this evening. The first is regarding Marcy's Law for Iowa by Levi Larson. Mr. Larson? Or Ms. Larson? Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Levi Larson, and I work with an effort called Marcy's Law for Iowa. So we're trying to bring a Crime Victims Bill of Rights to the state constitution. We're actually one of only 15 states left where we offer constitutional protections to our criminals with no equal constitutional protections for our crime victims. We're trying to change that and level the playing field by incorporating a Crime Victims Bill of Rights in the Iowa state constitution. So that would include things like the right to be notified when your offender is released, right to reasonable protection from the accused, to know your rights and be heard throughout the process. All very basic things we think are already constitutionally protected, but they are not. One of our big pushes for getting this is that it would make sure that these protections are there to last. Right now, crime victims are protected by code, but that can be voted out at any given point in time. There is also no sort of system to back them up if code is not followed. So we are too often hearing victims say they are not being notified when their offender is released. They are doing these kind of they're tracking their offender on their own. What we're trying to do is make sure that that's no longer a thing, that these crime victims are being treated with the fairness and dignity that they deserve. We are a bipartisan effort with Marion resident Representative Ashley Henson being our floor sponsor on the Republican side in 2018. She's been great in helping this move forward and making sure people know what we're about. So one of the best ways to help us out right now is to go ahead and sign our petition or do so. I have a copy right now. You can also do that online by visiting the website on the little flyer I handed out to you guys. So what that does is let your legislator know that it's time to pass this. So we have collected about 8,000 signatures statewide in about 9 weeks. I don't know if you know much about petition gathering, but that's a significant number of signatures to collect. Because it is a constitutional amendment, we do need these signatures to let legislators know that it's time for them to take action. In order to get it on ballot for all citizens to vote on, it does have to pass the legislative body, 2 consecutive legislative bodies. So that would be in 2019 or 2020, as well as again in 2021 and 2022. This would then put it to ballot for all voters to vote on. And it does have to pass exact same language. Does anyone have any questions?
Ms. Larson, could I ask you to redirect the microphone to the other side and then face the council?
Oh,
They
sorry.
could ask you questions. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, do you have any questions?
Any questions for her?
One question. Has this been considered by the legislature before, or is this going to be the first year that they will be given it consideration?
So in 2018, we did pass through subcommittee and committee. I don't know if you know much about the 2018 session, but it got kind of crazy towards the end. They needed to pass a budget, and we just never went to a vote on the floor.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Okay.
I'll go ahead and pass this around if that's all right.
Is that acceptable?
I don't think there's anything to prohibit it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Just wanted to make sure that was permissible. Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. Okay. Our next presentation is Kurt Nelson with EDC. Welcome.
Mayor, Council. Good evening. Let me start by thanking you for taking the time to listen. It's been a long time since I've been out to Marion and since I've talked to any of you folks, right? So I thought this is going to be an informational meeting. I'll follow up with an ask, but at this point in time, I think we just need to get reacquainted. I think I've provided you with our organizational brochure, a 2017 stakeholder report for all the folks who fund us, and a flyer on the upcoming Innovation Expo, which is next week. Some of you may be familiar with what we do, but we're focused on creating and growing high-impact interstate commerce businesses in Iowa, the kind that attract both money and talent from outside the region to come to our communities, and we've been engaged in supporting businesses in Iowa since 2003. We work with, most people think we work with startups, and we work with startups, but we work with early stage companies, we work with later stage companies. So we've done work for Rockwell Collins, which they simply pay for rather than using donors' dollars. We helped Apache Hose and Belting with a strategic plan to totally expand that business, which then got it sold in Cedar Rapids, and that was something that they paid for, right? So we work with large companies down to small companies, down to entrepreneurs that are dreaming of starting a company. We have, over time, it's been about a third, and a third startups, early stage and later stage businesses. We've got 5 full-time people in the business right now and 50 subject matter experts. The average tenure now of our team is well over 10 years. So lots of experience working with entrepreneurs in Iowa. We provide business guidance like a counselor would. We provide hands-on business support. We actually get in and help people in these companies do the work that they need to do to help them make sure it happens. So don't think of us just as advisors. We're actually doers with a lot of these companies. We work with about 40 companies at any one time. That's been pretty consistent over our term. We do resource connectivity, all the things, and we do everything based upon that company's needs. So there's not like a curriculum program. There's a we sit down an entrepreneur, we dissect their business, we dissect them, try and figure out what their capabilities are, what the business's capabilities are, and then we build a plan with them around taking it to the next stage, whatever that next stage is. The plus of all that is that it helps entrepreneurs and helps businesses avoid mistakes. It helps them strengthen their knowledge. It helps them grow faster, grow smarter, and provide more economic development to the state and to your communities faster. And that's why we get funded. Last month marked our 15-year anniversary from the very first meeting we had, which was down at the Science Station, when it used to be the Science Station in Cedar Rapids. And since that time, we worked with now over 1,000 businesses in Iowa. Those businesses have they've raised and employed about $425 million in capital. They have shown about $1.7 billion in revenue growth in that amount of time, and they've increased wages paid by around $500 million. And that's just for the ones that we track, which is about $2.6 billion in economic development. When it comes to the city of Marion, we've assisted many businesses out here over time. Two that you would recognize right off the bat would be Involta. 10 years ago this month, they opened their facility out here. That's the kind of facility that's going to be there for a long time because it's a very specialized facility for those of you that have been through it. I would hope that it would attract some good tax dollars and employment for you over time. The other one would be Ecolips and Steve Shriver. I think he bought a building in your town this year and is expanding out here, so you're going to, and that's a business that we've been actually working with Steve since 2005. So that's a business we've been integrally involved in for a long time, and with all of the growth comes their need to expand, and that I'll let them come out here and take over a building that was vacated and it's helping you. So those are the kind of examples. We worked quite a bit with Premier Guitar in their early stages when they took over some of the Frank Magid building out here. So we've been very active in your community. Over our history, we've raised about $11 million to run our own organization, with just a little over half of that coming from private supporters. 20% of our operating capital comes from things we charge for. So when a Rockwell Collins or an Apache Hose in Belgium or somebody says, can you do something for us, and we charge them a straight up fee, that's where some of our funding comes from, because it allows those companies to get help and allows them to know their money's going for helping entrepreneurs in the community. So that's worked out very well for us. When it comes, about 28% over time has come from some form of public funding, although $1 million of that was earmarked funding that Senator Harkin helped us get very early in our program. But if you look at the cities that support us now, the city of Cedar Rapids continually supports us at $100,000 a year. The city of Iowa City at $25,000 a year. The city of Coralville at $20,000 a year. The city of Hiawatha at $10,000 a year, and the city of North Liberty at $5,000 a year. Now, if you look at the stakeholder report that I provided in there, you can see all of the donors are all across the bottom of the report. The smaller the logo gets, the smaller the amount. Right? But we have about 120 donors that support our organization on an every year basis. If you look at what we've invested versus what the clients we've supported have created, it's about a 200-to-1 return on dollars. So we have a proven track record now at this stage. We have a proven methodology. We've got a very proven and experienced team for helping Iowa businesses, and we have an awful lot of proven successes in the businesses that we've helped. You folks provided funding to us in the years of 2006, 7, and 8, $5,000 each year. And we thank you for that, and that was because that was very instrumental in the very early years of our organization. But we would really like to see you get back involved in supporting the organization and taking advantage of the services that we provide, because we will, based upon all the support we get, we don't say, well, no, we can't help you because Marion's not funding us. We help entrepreneurs wherever they are in the state because we get state funding as well. But at the end of the day, the communities that take really advantage of us, I'll give you just an example. Some of you will know Ed Raber from Washington County. Now he's in Dubuque County, but he was the Washington County and Washington Economic Development guy. And what he did with us every year he brought us down, and every year he had us go around and meet very specific businesses. So Bazooka Farm Star, anybody know what that is down in Washington? Well, they're one of the leading producers of manure injection equipment for farming, real large manure injecting companies. And we got involved with them and helped them with the sales and marketing side of their business. And this was about 3 years ago, and they did about $10 million, and this year they're going to do somewhere just under 35. And so now we're integrally involved with them and helping them with their operations side for actually being able to deliver a 3 times increase in their business over that amount of time. Now that's a business that we got to be involved with that is now creating significant number of additional jobs in that community, all because that community took advantage of understanding what we could do to help them and brought us in on a regular basis. And they take a look at the businesses they've got, and they try and figure out from the businesses they have which ones could be scalable, which ones could use the help. And then they aligned us up with them. So yeah, so don't be thinking about us as well, we work with startups, and yes, we work with startups, but if you got a $10 million, $5 million, $20 million manufacturing facility, we worked pretty hard with Dave Parks out here at Quickway for a while on that business, but unfortunately I think they've left your town. But those are the kind of businesses that we can help, and we can help grow. So we'd like to see you take advantage of that. We have this expo coming up next week. Have any of you ever attended it? Yeah, it's the Innovation Expo. It actually started the year, the first year of the Branstad administration, when Debbie Durham decided not to run the Iowa Entrepreneurial Convention in Des Moines, and we said, well, why don't you never do it again, and we'll take it over and we'll come up with an entrepreneurial convention or a program. And that's what we did, and now it gets held in eastern Iowa instead of being held in Des Moines, which is to the advantage of the eastern Iowa. And so you'll see in that day, you'll see entrepreneurs all afternoon pitching from a panel of experts relative to their business models and getting advice relative to the overall business or the funding side of the business. But in the evening, which is the part that you would want to attend, there'll be just over 100 eastern Iowa companies exhibiting, and then down here at the Doubletree, we provide food and cocktail tickets and music and everything else, but it's a big convention like Expo Hall, and you can go around and meet all these entrepreneurs, and you get a sense for all this new technology and products, all the way down to the best of show the last couple of years voted by the audience, I think, was Metro High School, the robotics team. So we go all the way down to the high school level for those that exhibit. A lot of students at this event, so we would encourage you to get online and come see it so you get a sense for what's going on with that. I founded this business in 2003 with a specific focus on helping businesses succeed faster, right, and growing the economy faster in this state. And by all measures, now after 15 years, it's been a real success. So we would really like to see you guys get back involved, and we would like to get more involved in helping grow your economy. So with that, I will take some questions. I'm happy to provide a formal ask, and I provide it to Lon, but I wanted to give you some time to think about it, maybe have me back. Soonest I'd want to get some funding for you would be next year.
Good. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Nelson? Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I am familiar with the organization, and it has, I think, accomplished quite a bit, in the last 15 years. But you had 2 comments, Kurt, that contradicted each other. Okay. At the very beginning, you said you haven't been here for a long time, and then later you said that you're very active in Marion.
I haven't been to your council, and I haven't asked you all for money since 2008.
And my follow-up question to that is really, could you describe your involvement for EDC as it relates to Medco? I mean, from our standpoint, we look to Medco as really being, the economic development arm for the city. Mm-hmm. So can you kind of tell me what your involvement or interaction is with Medco, since we do provide quite a bit of funding in that direction?
Yeah, I don't know for what reasons over the years, but it's not gelled. And if it's our fault, then we're happy to get back involved. And if you'd like us to get more involved at that level, we'd be happy to. But that's why I'm kind of back here, is to try and say, okay, if we haven't been involved here at this right level, then let's come to this meeting, let's talk to you about it, and then have you direct us. Because it would be the logical extension for us to be working much closer with them on helping scale the businesses that you have.
I would agree.
As I would say it, and so we'd be happy to do that.
Okay, other question? Mayor Pro Tem has a question.
Yeah, so quick question. This looks really exciting. I wasn't familiar with you at all. I see that you have some higher ed sponsors. I'm not sure, being located in Cedar Rapids, are you familiar with Iowa Big or their North
Yes.
Campus? So do you bring on, I'm solely focused on you giving kids experiences with your huge variety. Do you already partner with the schools? We've got great schools in this area. It'd be wonderful to have them have the opportunity to see what
Well,
you
right,
do.
so the Iowa Big program that gets also run down out of the NewBoCo area with Eric Engelman's program, so they're very active at the high school level and down, and we're very active at the college level. So from Kirkwood to Mount Mercy to the University of Iowa to Co, we get involved at inviting and working with the classes and inviting the students in from there. Right now we're teaching the entrepreneurial course out here at Cornell. So one of the people on our staff. So we get involved at the college level, and Eric's group has gotten involved at the high school level. But they're all invited to this program. So his program there invites the kids, which is why you get down to the high school level and why the last 2 years, Metro High won Best of Show.
But I don't mean just invite them to this. I mean, since you're partnering, you seem like a logical conduit, right? Because you talk to a lot of different businesses of sizes and what they do, that it would be, I would just encourage you to reach out to the school districts and see if there's a way that you can have these opportunities. And it's something that Medco does as well, our community promise. But I think that this
So
is
we're talking more to the kids?
I'm sorry?
So that we're talking more to the kids?
Yeah, and so that they're
Sharing
being exposed to what you're doing because you interact with a variety of different businesses of different sizes at different points along the way of a business. I think that can be very beneficial. So I would just encourage you to do that because what you have here is pretty unique.
And I just met, I can't say her name, sorry, Lori, the new president at Kirkwood. I just met with her, and she mentioned a high school program that she would like to start and that we would be a logical presenter at, and so that would be at the high school level.
Oh,
so
okay.
So kind of down that point, but thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, congratulations on all your success and all that you've done to help this region and the state. So, thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for the time. Have a good evening.
Okay, before we move on with the agenda, just a housekeeping item. There is a closed session that appears on the agenda at the end that is being removed from the agenda by request of staff. We've been advised that there's no more need to have that closed session, and so we won't be having the closed session. That's being removed from the agenda. Okay? So moving back to where we left off on the agenda after the presentations, we have a section that is set aside for public comments on the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are voted on all as a group, so there's typically no individual discussion on individual items. But if anyone would like to address the council regarding any of the consent agenda items, this is the time that you would be welcome to come forward and address the council on any particular item. Anyone here to address the council on a consent agenda item? Okay, seeing that there are none, we will move on with the consent agenda. Councilman Sternad.
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda calendar, or excuse me, the agenda as follows. This will be items A1 through G1. This will also include resolution numbers 27180 through 27200.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, including items A1 through G1 and resolutions 27180 through 27200. Discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. For this next section, I will turn over the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abu-Asali's abstention. This will include items A1 through F1 and resolutions 27201 through 27201 through 27207.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Will. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of items A1 through F1, resolutions 27201 through 27207, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. I will keep the gavel. On to the regular agenda under administrative services.
I make a motion to receive, file, and discuss correspondence requesting deferral of liquor license suspension. Chibo Fusion, 685 Marion Boulevard.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Will and a second by Steve. Discussion? Questions? Statements? It's up here right now. I would acknowledge that we have received a letter since our last discussion when Ms. Sutcliffe came in and made her presentation. So that's specifically what we're talking about this evening is that letter. And we spent a little bit of time talking about it on Tuesday. There are just 4 of us here, but we spoke with our attorney. I don't believe we don't need to. Did you want to weigh in, Mr. Tang, on the Chibo Fusion, or not unless we have something specific?
Yeah. Do you want me to speak from here, or would you rather I come
That's
to the podium
fine.
on
Thank
that?
you.
Okay. I think that Ms. Bullerman discussed it in full on Tuesday night, and I was actually here in the chamber when she did address council. I would concur with her opinion. First and foremost, it'd be discretionary with the council to whether or not they have or indulge a hearing on the request for deferral, but it is not to be considered a rehearing on the merits of the suspension itself. So unless we go down the road of whether or not the council wants to hear her on granting this deferral, this deferment, and the council wants legal's opinion on it, then I don't think I have anything else that needs to be added.
Okay, thank you. Anything else before we vote?
Well, there's no vote here.
No, I mean, you're right. Before we're just voting on one, though. Receive, file, and discuss. Right. Okay, there's nothing else. We have a motion by Will, a second by Steve. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none. Item number 2.
Your Honor, this will be for making a motion to approve resolution number 27208, approving a deferral of liquor license suspension for Chibo Fusion until January 19th, 2019.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Randy and a second by Steve. Any discussion?
I guess I will just make a note. I want to make note that we appreciate the attention and the details that came in on this. The letter of explanation, it does force our city to become placed in a position where we have to start considering exceptions. Circumstances are different, but yeah, by the same token too, we have to abide by our own laws and ordinances. And so as we move forward with this, I do want to acknowledge the intent of this, and we're sorry that it happened, but I just feel strongly that we must stick to the curriculum of our process. So if we start making exceptions, those are circumstances that we have to make. So I just want to make that noted.
Anyone else? Steve?
Yeah, I don't think there's any further discussion about whether or not the penalty, the dollar penalty and the loss of liquor license is going to be discussed. I mean, that's the law. That is going to happen. I think the question is, does it take immediate effect, or do we allow for a deferral? I'm one of the instances probably allowing for an exception. Again, we don't recall that this has happened before, but again, given the circumstances, I tend to understand the business side of it. And so the penalty will go into effect, but I would agree to the exception.
I mean, I understand with the letter that was written, that there's things planned, but unfortunately the law was broken a second time within 2 years, and the penalty is the penalty, and I don't see the need to set a precedent to defer the penalty for any businesses that might do that in the future too. So I would say that I won't be approving a deferral.
Okay. And just in fairness, I want to weigh in as well. I appreciate the letter and the presentation that you gave. I certainly would want to have you on my team as an advocate if because you really have done everything you can do. But we need to consider the city, the safety of the city, what our professionals in terms of legal and law enforcement have recommended. And so I too feel strongly that we need to stick with the penalty and not defer from it, because we don't want to set a precedent. We have lots of businesses in town, and this could be a slippery slope. So that's truly the main reason. It is unfortunate because of the time of year, but given that it's the second penalty in a close time frame, actually, you can't. I'm sorry, this is not the time for that, but I appreciate you being here tonight in person for this. Yep. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion by Randy and a second by Steve for Resolution 27208. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I'm sorry, I take that back. It says deferral.
Want to start that over?
Yeah, I do. A motion by Randy and a second by Steve for Resolution 27208 for the deferral. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
No. Okay, motion fails. Item number 3. And at this time, I relinquish the gavel back to the mayor, the rest of the meeting, for this part.
Okay, Councilman Jensen?
Yeah, Your Honor, I make a motion setting a special work session for October 8th, 2018 at 5 p.m. at the Marion Public Library regarding current and future plans for the library service. This is a joint meeting with the library board at the regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to set a special work session for October 8, 2018 at 5 p.m. at the Marion Public Library regarding current and future plans for library service. Discussion.
Mayor, if I would just
Yes,
note that we're going to take an opportunity to circle back with the library board about the current status of the project. We've been having a lot of discussions with council about the future of this block and some of those properties over there, and wanted to go through the implications with them. This is not what we would consider a compulsory meeting for the city council, but when we had asked to see if there was interest in attending, several of the council members had indicated that they could attend. This is to make sure that if a quorum shows up, that the public is properly noticed, that it could become a joint meeting of the library board and the city council. So we are making sure that we don't have any open meetings laws violations. I know a couple of you were not available, but this way we're covered.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
How long do you anticipate this taking? And for those who can't be there, can we get paper copies of anything that might be pertinent? Can we pick them up Tuesday?
Yeah, absolutely. On the paper copies of anything that's distributed, I really don't know how long we'll be there. That'll be driven by the questions that are asked.
Okay.
Other questions or discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to set the special work session for October 8th, 2018 at 5 p.m. at the public library, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Councilman Brandt?
Me? Or
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's me.
Councilwoman
Sorry.
Gadela.
Guess am I in the wrong spot?
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 18-26, establishing access fees on 2184 Echo Hill Road related to Echo Ridge Estates. This is the second consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the second consideration of ordinance number 18-26, establishing access fees on 2184 Echo Hill Road. Discussion? Is there a presentation on this? I see that.
I just have it up in case there's questions.
Okay. Questions? Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to establish the access fees for 2184 Echo Hill Road, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. Now, Mr. Brandt.
All right. Yes, Your Honor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 1827 regarding establishing access fees on 35th Avenue related to Briar Gate 6th Edition, second consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 18-27 regarding establishing access fees on 35th Avenue related to Briar Gate 6th Edition. Discussion. Okay. All those in favor of approving ordinance number 18-27, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 18-23, amending Chapter 100A of the Code of Ordinances regarding amendment to access fees for ordinance number 13-03, 100A.05, Tower Terrace Road District. This will be for final consideration.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 18-23, amending Chapter 100A of the Code of Ordinances regarding amendment of access fees pursuant to ordinance number 13-03 for Tower Terrace Road District. This is the final consideration. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance number 18-23, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. Councilman Jensen?
Your Honor, I make a motion to receive, file, and discuss and refer to TAC, which is the Travel Advisory Committee, a request regarding requesting additional speed limit signs on Lucor Road, north of Hunter Ridge Road. This was brought by Karen Westhoff, who lives at 5680 Lucor Road.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Jensen and seconded by Councilman Sternad to receive and file a request from Karen Westhoff and to discuss and refer to TAC the request regarding additional speed limit signs on Lucor Road north of Hunter Ridge Road. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to receive, file, discuss, and refer to TAC, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to receive, file, discuss, and concur with the TAC report regarding the request of additional speed limit signs on Lucor Road, north of Hunters Ridge Road. Again, Karen Westhoff, 5680 Lucor Road.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to receive, file, discuss, and concur with the TAC report regarding the request of additional speed limit signs on Lucor Road, north of Hunters Ridge Road. Discussion. And you want to just reiterate what the recommendation was of the committee?
Sure. So basically, Lucor is classified as a major arterial. The existing speed limit is 35 miles an hour per Chapter 63 of the Code of Ordinances. There are no currently speed limit line signs between Hunters Ridge and the city limit to the north. There are for southbound, but not for northbound. So the recommendation from TAC is to add additional 35 mile per hour speed limit signs per the MUTCD, which is the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
Okay. Thank you. That's for the benefit of those here and those listening, that is the recommendation that we're voting on. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion is approved. Councilman Brandt.
Yes, Your Honor, I make a motion to receive, file, discuss, and concur with TAC report regarding requesting stop signs at the intersection of Williams Drive and Shady Oak Drive. Mike Etzel, 801 Williams Drive.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to receive, file, discuss, and concur with the TAC report regarding requesting stop signs at the intersection of Williams Drive and Shady Oak Drive. Discussion. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to thank Mr. Etzel for bringing this to our attention. This is going to be, once that road opens up, I think, quite a big cut through. So for safety reasons, it's good to get ahead of this before we're reacting to little fender benders and things like that. But just want to thank you for being here tonight to see this through and bringing this up for us.
Thank you. Other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. Mr. Sternad. Number 7.
Thank you. Your Honor, this will be for approving resolution number 27209, approving a stop sign stopping northbound traffic on Shady Oak Drive at its intersection with Williams Drive.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27209, approving a stop sign stopping northbound traffic on Shady Oak Drive at the intersection of Williams Drive. Discussion? All those in favor of the resolution 27209, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 27210, approving a stop sign stopping eastbound traffic on Williams Drive at its intersection with Shady Oak Drive.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27210, approving a stop sign stopping eastbound traffic on Williams Drive at its intersection with Shady Oak Drive. Any discussion? None? All those in favor of resolution 27210, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move that we approve resolution number 27211, approving a stop sign stopping westbound traffic on Williams Drive at its intersection with Shady Oak Drive.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The motion is by Mayor Pro Tem Gadela. The second was by Councilman Sternad. To approve resolution number 27211, approving a stop sign stopping westbound traffic on Williams Drive at the intersection with Shady Oak Drive. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve resolution number 27211, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I make a motion to receive, file, and discuss correspondence regarding drainage issues at Indian Creek Country Club, Tom Newbanks, 1250 Country Club Drive.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve a motion to receive, file, and discuss correspondence regarding drainage issues at Indian Creek Country Club, request by Tom Newbanks. Discussion? Sir? Oh.
So you guys have the request in your council packet as well as the previous request and memos, and the individual is here, and I think he would like to address the council.
Okay. Mr. Newbanks? So if you would just state your, I guess you have your address, but I think these are you should state your address, please,
Yeah,
so that we can.
Tom Newbanks is, my address is actually 2965 Edgebrook Drive in Marion. The 1250 Country Club goes back to all the drawings. That's where the pipe comes through. I'm here to talk about is a storm sewer drainage problem we have. We have a pipe entering the golf course property that takes storm water off the streets, starting at Northview and Country Club Drive, all the way down to 1250 Country Club Drive, where it turns right underground and then goes down and dumps out in the open ditch on our property, which we've used for a water hazard for years, you know. I have a handout here. Is it all right to bring it forward?
When you say our, oh,
Yeah, I'll pass them down.
Thank you.
do you have a copy for the city clerk? Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Do we need to receive and file this? Asking the city attorney, I'm sorry.
I believe it was commented at a later meeting.
Oh, they'll be received and filed at a later meeting? Okay. Okay. My question was, when you say we, who's we? Our property, you said, our property.
Indian Creek Country Club.
The country club property.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Just to be
president of the
clear.
board somehow or another, and
Okay. Thank
so
you.
This becomes my problem. If you notice on what I handed out there, it's dated on the back as 10/4/84, which is 34 years ago today. The most important, well, two things. One is it says off of our abstract, this is a storm, sewer, and drainage easement. And then in the last paragraph, it says the grantor has agreed to give the city of Marion, Iowa, a perpetual and continual easement for the purpose of constructing, reconstructing, and maintaining said storm sewer. To the best of my knowledge, the city has only participated in that one time in the winter of 2009, after the ground was froze. The country club at that time came and made a presentation to have that pipe encased, and it was not thought too well of, I guess, but in all the discussions I was working for the city at that time, took our sewer supervisor out there, and he said, well, this is an easy fix, but it's temporary. We could take a backhoe in because the ground's froze, just scoop it out, throw it in the dump truck, and get out of there, you know. So that was done in 2009. It lasted maybe 2 years and then started to silt back in again. Right now, if you get down and look from the cart path down the waterway, you'll see there's a place that's raised almost a foot off the water, and it's just mush. You can't walk it in there. I kept track 2 weeks ago when we mowed that, because we can't get a mower on it anymore. We have to mow it with a weed whip by hand. It took 19 and a half hours to weed whip that ditch. So we'd be asking the city to encase it into a plastic pipe, cover it up, you know, backfill it and cover it up. And then I think, and we feel anyway, that the city's responsibility will be done there. A golf course has to be rated, slope and rating. And if we took that water hazard off our number one hole, our rating would go down, and you don't want to do that. So what we would do would probably be to plant wildflowers or flowers or something on there, rope it off as an environmental sensitive area, and you can't play out of it. You'd have to bring the ball back, drop one penalty stroke, and go ahead just like if it was water. The last time it was done, like I said, it lasted about two years maybe, and we feel that probably 95% of that water coming down is off Country Club Drive. And then Linmar Court, I think there's only 4 houses on Linmar Court, that dumps into there. And at one time, 16th Street and McGowan come down 16th Street and dumped into that pipe also, but with McGowan being reconstructed and having storm sewers, I don't know whether that's part of it anymore or not. But we just feel that the maintenance has been, I don't want to say let go, it's just never brought to anybody's attention, I don't think. But we would sure like to see that encased and get rid of our problem. If breeding mosquitoes, something terrible. We get neighbors calling us wanting to know if we're gonna spray for the mosquitoes down there.
Okay, just so I'm clear, you're saying the city has an easement through there.
Yes. Mhm.
There's no pipe in the ground?
No, it's just an open ditch.
It's an open
right now,
ditch?
yeah.
Right.
But there's nothing that, I mean, unless there's more to this agreement, nothing that requires the city to do anything.
It would do what?
There's nothing in this agreement that requires the city, in the agreement itself, to do anything. But so this is a receive and file for today, so we've heard your comments and appreciate it. So I think we'll wait for a report from staff at some point, and then,
No, we're actually asking for direction from council on what you want staff to do.
okay. Okay, so,
Okay. Any questions or anything?
Does anybody
If
have any
anybody would
questions?
like to see it close up, call me or call the club, and I'd be glad to take you down there and show it to you.
if we have questions for Mr. Newbanks before he concludes and takes his seat again, yes, sir.
I just want to, kind of a question for him, but Tuesday when we discussed this, Mike, we were talking about how there was something in an ordinance in place, or I
Yeah,
forget
there's
what it
already
was about the
resolution
percentage.
12878.
Yeah, can you just see if he's aware of that?
He's aware,
Present.
but I
Okay.
gave him a copy of it.
Okay.
He has everything that you guys have.
So right now, do we have questions for Mr. Newbanks?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if he was aware of that resolution. Yes,
I have-
that was
yeah,
the question.
Yeah, so question, Tom, is, so your request is only to put in a pipe and enclose that, although the agreement here indicates that one option would be to maintain it. So your request is not for the city to come in at all and dredge it out and maintain it, but only your request, or the only option you want to propose is to put in a pipe.
Encase the pipe, yeah.
Encase the pipe. All right, wanted to be clear on that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, discussion.
I guess I have a couple things. One, I guess I was wanting to go one step further to say, as per that agreement, are they willing to go to the 75% of that cost? Second thing is, Mike, in looking at this can you clarify for me on this, Linmar Court, there is a catch basin there, but does it release then back out there to the open? Are these two residences experiencing the same water flow coming through there? I'm a little confused as to how the water is being collected, and I'm sorry, maybe Ryan, that's your question for you, is then does it release back out? I'm trying to figure out in the photographs here how this is occurring.
So you're talking about between these residents right here?
Correct.
So there's a set of intakes right here that are on Indian Creek
Oops,
Road.
I'm sorry. Is the water traveling north or south on this?
It is going the direction of my arrow. So it's flowing this way towards Indian Creek, and then comes down here and goes into the Indian Creek.
Correct. And I'm sorry, I'll re-ask the question. Do the two neighbors off of Linmar Court, noted by your arrows there, are they experiencing the same water? I guess in my opinion, I'm looking at this thinking that it's only occurring when the water is overflowing this catch basin here, because I can see it right here. The catch basin's right there. So is that failing and not collecting the water, or where's this water coming from?
So it continues to the south. There's a whole storm sewer system that it ties into. I guess I didn't look to see if there's any other open ditches.
Mr. Jensen?
So question on Indian Creek Road there, where that goes towards the house right there, on the northwest side of that road, is that encased?
So there's two
Is that all
intake-
underground there?
Yeah, so there's an intake on each side of these. So there's an inlet that the
Yep.
water goes from the ditch into the inlet, into the storm sewer system. There's a storm sewer pipe that goes to here, and you can see it outlets right here.
Okay, so that is encased on that side of the road?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, my comment would be, I understand the request. I mean, I've played there many times, and I've never liked that area. To be quite honest, you can call it a hazard, call it whatever you want, but, you know, when you got kind of a standing area like that, I understand. And certainly with a lot of areas, with this year being such a wet year, you know, I'm sure it's a bigger problem. But my comment, really key comment, going back to Randy's comment, is based on the resolution that's already out there in front of them, are they willing to pay 75%? If not, that may certainly affect the discussion. If they're not, then that may affect the discussion and recommendations.
And so basically, that's a city policy set by resolution, and it's up to 15,000 as well.
Correct.
It might be more. Sorry.
Okay. Mr. Newbanks, you have a follow-up comment?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
We don't feel that this is a neighborhood drainage issue because of the easement and all that stuff. We think this just needs to be taken care of. We don't think it's a neighborhood drainage issue at all.
Whose drainage issue is it?
Pardon?
Whose drainage issue is it then?
Who is saying that?
No, whose drainage issue is it?
Well, I think it's the city's. And we gave them permission to do it. So years ago, someone took $1 and got permission to do that.
Perpetual.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a item that should be shared between us. We think the pipe should be put in.
Yeah.
And we know we have to do something with the top of it after it's done there, but.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. So there's no item to vote on this agenda. I mean, you're just looking for, what is it that we're?
Yeah, I don't know who you want to refer it to. I mean, we can do a staff report and come back to you, but we just want to know, what do you want us to do with the request? That we have a city policy. We've presented this before, and it didn't go anywhere.
So, I guess I need to be educated more on it, because now that I'm hearing everything, I mean, I understand permission to have drainage across the property. I don't see obligation anywhere. Those are two different things. I mean, if the city received permission, but decided not to use that drainage way, I mean, water may be draining naturally through there. So, I don't know. I'm a little conflicted on that. Sir?
Well, my comment would be, I understand the request of wanting to have that enclosed. I certainly, from their standpoint, would support that. But I would say the people 34 years ago were not the best negotiators when they gave the perpetual easement to the city under those circumstances.
Any other comments? Yes?
Yeah, I would adhere to the city policy if we were to do anything, only because we've been dealing with a lot of water runoff issues in Ward 4 in particular. I've been talking with a lot of people along Brookside, et cetera, and people who want the city to get in and help with their drainage issues. And so if we were to help, I would feel comfortable going up to that threshold that we have by ordinance, but not more than that. If the other people, the people whose responsibility it really is, are willing to kick in the 75%, I think the city could certainly adhere to the policy and do the other percentage, but I don't think that this is the city's responsibility to fix.
Are there any, I know that periodically I hear about some sort of program or something like that. Brian, is there a program that would apply here?
I know, this is another one. There is. We've approached these situations, I guess, on each basis. And so I think what's going on here is that the country club is saying that all the runoff coming off the road is the city storm water, okay? And so I'd have to look at that agreement to understand whether or not we're supposed to be maintaining it. Because since I've been director, we have not maintained it. And so there have been times where public service, not necessarily engineering or anything like that, we've worked out deals like off of Dry Creek Lane, and we've had to encase some stormwater pipes there. We've worked out agreements with property owners for them to purchase the pipe. Public service puts it in. So there's options here. I think what Mike's
asking is how much time and effort do you want staff to put into this, if you do.
In those situations, it's been some sort of sharing of
Yeah, there's been cost sharing
responsibilities.
involved, but it also depends on each situation because there's been situations where it could become a bigger problem to the public. And so we've always looked at each one differently. And we've gone to our board and looked at each one differently. So I think Mike's asking us how far do you want to go with this?
Well,
So.
in from my perspective, I at least would like to know, and I don't know how everybody else feels, but at least what is the obligation of the city? And we're kind of guessing about what the obligation is. What is the obligation of the city here? Just the agreement, the easement agreement on its face doesn't have any kind of a obligation, but it is an easement that creates a right for maintaining and for constructing and maintaining. It's a right in favor of the city. There's no reciprocal requirement that we use it or that we do anything with it or that we there's no obligation to use it. It's just a right that was given to the city. But I would I'd be interested in knowing, outside of this agreement, what is our runoff from that street? What is the city's obligation in that instance in terms of managing the runoff and where it goes? I mean, if we have an obligation, I certainly want to abide by our obligation. So I guess does that make sense? That's where I stand right now. I don't know, maybe we need more information. Sure.
My only additional comment would be, if on the surface it appears the city has the obligation to maintain that, then the only way I would go above the percentage in the previous resolution of 25% is if we take a look at the cost of what it takes to maintain that for a number of periods of time over the next number of years, and say, is that worthwhile, so that we don't have to do that to encase this, to not have to spend and incur that additional cost. I mean, so that's the only way I would consider going above the 25%, but maybe it equals that, I don't know. So, but if it costs a lot to maintain it, for us to go in there periodically and maintain it in the correct fashion, if that's our obligation, then I'd weigh that to eliminate that versus, increasing that percentage above that 25%. That's the only way I would probably consider it.
It's just it seems to me that this agreement says that the city has the right to construct and maintain storm sewer and manholes. We haven't resorted to that. We haven't used our right under this, right? Is that correct? I mean, we don't have manholes and we don't have sewer there.
I don't have the agreement that you guys have. But
We haven't used the easement. Unless I'm wrong and there's something I'm missing. But anyway, so there's where we may need more information or guidance from the professional staff, counsel, legal counsel. Sir.
One option the council could have is that you could refer this to the Public Services Board. They do look at this, and then they could come back and make a recommendation. We don't have to do that. That's just an option. It is, just to clarify, it is being used by the city now as a stormwater easement. If I recall, there's probably water in it every day, all the time.
But
so
is that the natural drainage of that site?
Mm-hmm. That's the way it was constructed originally.
Constructed by the city?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's important. I mean.
Yeah. And so I agree. I think there has to be more information. I don't have that information, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I'd have to look into it myself, but that's just an option the council would have.
Okay.
So that is how I'm looking at that. That is the city's stormwater going through there.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, each situation is different. It'd be nice to have an encompassing policy, but I wouldn't recommend doing that because each situation is different. But I would myself have to look into it a lot more if the council, and Mike and myself. So.
Okay. Further discussion, thoughts on this? We still don't have a direction.
No, so you can amend the motion to direct it to the Public Service Board for recommendation back if you wanted to.
Can we do that if it's not on the agenda? To direct it somewhere?
I guess my position on this would not necessarily be that you would need to amend it to direct it somewhere. I would think directing it is a part of the discussion process. I don't think the
Because we're not
council...
making a final decision, we're having them explore it further?
Correct. So I think as long as the council's not actually taking action on it, I think if the council is just directing staff to investigate this further and report back to the council, I don't think that requires amendment.
Okay. Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
I'm good with that.
Yeah. I would like
Sure.
to also just agree with you, Mr. Mayor, that look into the agreement more, because I agree exactly the way you're reading it. I'm reading it the same way, that we have the right to go in there and do what we need to do, but it's not a right.
So I think what I'm hearing as a consensus is that we need more staff investigation of this with a recommendation from staff as to how we should proceed with an actual action on it. Okay? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Newbanks.
We still need to vote on receiving it.
Okay. That's right. We need to vote on the motion to receive, file, and discuss the correspondence. I guess, are we finished with discussion, or is there any more discussion? Okay.
No.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay. Thank you. The motion is approved. Councilman Sternad, and I am turning the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the lighting recommendations from the Airport Advisory Committee meeting.
Second.
Motion by Randy and a second by Will. Any discussion? Mike, these are the, oh, okay, there it is. I was going to say, these are those 4 options, okay. We talked about Tuesday. Yeah, Randy?
Mike, can you tell us, so we're receiving it and filing, and we're taking the information. Tell us what to look for, what's coming back to us.
Sure. So basically, in a previous council meeting, they picked the runway type, and it was the future fleet for that. At that time, they were still contemplating solar power, so they weren't willing to make a decision at that meeting. At the last meeting, they actually sat down. We had a lot more information about the solar, and they just didn't feel comfortable with the solar option. And so then it takes it down to 3 choices. The APS and the 120 volt, they didn't like. The 120 volt, if you think of like a strand of lights and you have one power source, you have voltage drop along that. So you could have lights that are dimmer than others. So they didn't like that. And then I believe the APS power type was not FAA approved. And even though we're not an FAA airport, they want to follow the guidelines for insurance purposes. And that's why they chose the 6.6 amp power type with the trans closure at this time. Okay. So that's a recommendation. When I presented the future fleet flight, I just assumed that they were going to pick the most expensive one when I was putting the CIP together, so that we were, in case they chose a lower one, it's easier to take the money out than ask for it later. So this coincides with the ask that we've already asked for in the CIP.
And do you know, without me looking back at it, do you know when that was asked for, and did we have any, clearly we didn't have a budget for this, so this is going to be all part of the CIP, correct?
Yeah, so basically we do have $374,040 that's coming from the Iowa DOT grant that we applied for. But with this, it's approximately $2.2 million. And so with the grant, there's still a funding gap there. And that's in your memo there. But
So the allocated monies that, and I apologize, I want to zero in on the monies for this because the ask is going to come in. We do not have the resources for that. It's part of the bigger picture, correct?
Correct, and I believe Lon will go into that more in the CIP, but I believe we're looking at TIF to backfill this.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Anyone else? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying no. Okay, item number 12.
Your Honor, this will be mine again, requesting the motion to reconsider resolution number 27171, approving addendum number 1 to the memorandum of agreement regarding the installation of Tower Terrace Road. This will be phase 6 for the Morris Wood Enterprise LLC, which failed on 9/20/2018.
Second.
Okay, motion by Randy and a second by Will. For 27171, any discussion? Randy?
Yep, I'll bring that back up. Just for clarification, this particular item, being on the prevailing side, I'm asking for it to come back because of our lack of attendance from council on this one here. It was clearly voted as a no because of the seats being empty up here that evening. So I'm requesting it to be brought back again for second consideration before council. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of resolution number 27171 signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed signify by saying no. Okay. And one abstention. Okay, item number 13.
Your Honor, I make a motion to direct staff to place resolution number 27171 approving addendum number 1 to the memorandum of agreement regarding the installation of Tower Terrace Road Phase 6 on the agenda of the October 18th, 2018 City Council meeting. This relates to the Morris Wood Enterprises LLC, and this failed originally on 9/20/2018.
Second.
Motion by Steve and a second by Randy. Further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of resolution 27171, addendum number 1, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. And those abstaining? One abstention. Okay, on to community development. At this time, we have a public hearing on proposed vacation of a portion of public property described as the south 120 feet of the 10-foot wide north-south alley between lots 6, 7, and 8, Block 20, Original Town, now City of Marion, Lynn County, Iowa. This is Paul A. and Carolyn Draper Joint Revocable Trust, continued from September 20th, 2018. The public hearing is now open. If anyone would like to come and speak for this, please come up and state your name and address at this time. Do we have a map? Do we want to show it? If you want to at least point it out to the audience.
So the property area is identified in red, so it'd be north of 6th Avenue, west of 10th Street, behind the coffee shop, and then also Sheets Forest Draper facility, our insurance office. You can see it expands 2 lots. The north lot and the south lot are different ownership, but the west property is owned by the same folks as on the east. The request came in from the trust to purchase the entire alley right away, and I don't believe the owner to the north had requested their proportionate share.
They would be notified though, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
okay, so everyone's had an opportunity that's on that block who would be within a certain...
Correct. I would point out that I've not heard from Mr. Draper regarding the request. I know that he had asked for that to be continued at one point so that he could speak to the issue, but I don't know if we've received anything from his council, or has anybody heard from him? Okay.
Okay. Anything for Tom? Anyone?
I don't
Yeah,
believe,
Randy?
I'm sorry.
Tom, I'm sorry if I could ask, directly to the north of that, if you were to look at that as a mirrored image, does that remain as an alley to the north side of that?
I believe there, now that you ask me that, I believe the alleyway does exist, and it just kind of dead ends at the southern, where the 20 is. But it's a grass strip. I think here's a good photo of it, looking north off 6th. You can see this utility pole there, and this hedge line is kind of the other side, is concrete.
I mean, you can drive out of that alley.
Yes, on the north side.
On the north side.
Yep. I can see that now, and I'm just trying to visualize it in my head. I drive by it every day. So yeah. There is a severe grade change. If you go back behind the coffee shop, I think there's a railing, and there's about a 4-foot drop between what would be the alley. So it's not like you would be able to drive east to west through that. You would just be able to have access from the north to the south side. As far as I'm aware, we've not had much communication outside of just questions regarding what it meant from the perspective of the owners of the Wits End property. So.
Thanks, Tom. Anyone from the public at this time want to speak in favor or ask any questions? Anyone want to come up and speak against this?
Can I ask before you close it?
Sure.
Do we leave it open for Mr. Draper still, since he's unable to attend?
That's at the council's. I honestly don't know. I haven't heard from Mr. Draper on the situation.
He wanted to address us about it, and obviously with his health issues right now, he's not able to attend.
Should we table it?
But we would leave this open still. I mean, it was opened. Been open since
So
September
we'll
20th.
just keep it continued. I think that's.
I mean, that is certainly within the. I think you could leave it open and just not read the resolutions. And I would say that if you leave this open, you'd want to leave the sale item open, which I think is after the resolution.
So do we just not even read that one then?
I wouldn't read the resolutions and just leave the public hearings open.
Okay, I think that's probably fair. If he has something to say. You all right?
No, I understand. I don't think it has any impact on the vote, given there's no opposition to the vacation, so, but I understand Paul did want to make some comments regarding it, but I don't think it would certainly impact any of our concerns or questions about it, so.
I can't hurt to leave it open.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, okay, thank you, Tom. I'm going to close the public hearing.
No.
Oh, well, there's a.
But don't close it, because we want to leave it open.
Oh.
I'll continue.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Right?
All right.
Yeah.
We'll leave item 1 open. We're going to skip 2. And then, let's see, is 3.
Do we have to reopen it?
Yeah, do I reopen it for 3, Tom? Do you have your agenda in front of you? It looks like.
I think it has to be opened and then continued since it's on the agenda to be opened.
Ryan?
You'd follow the same procedure that you did for item 1. You would open it, and then, assuming there's no further discussion on 3, just note for the record that you're leaving it open.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so at this time, item number 3, we're going to open a public hearing on proposed disposition of a portion of public property described as the south 120 feet of the 10-foot wide north-south alley between lots 6, 7, and 8, Block 20, Original Town, now City of Marion, Lynn County, Iowa, Paul A. and Carolyn Draper Joint Revocable Trust, and this is also continued from September 20th, 2018. Tom, there's nothing new for this one? No. Okay. Is there anyone from the public, since this was advertised as a public hearing, who would like to come up and ask questions or speak in favor or against? We'll take anybody. Okay, seeing none, we're going to leave this open probably until the next meeting, but we'll figure that out. Okay, at this time, relinquish the gavel back to the mayor.
Thank you. Item number 5 under community development is a public hearing regarding amendment to the Marion Code of Ordinances to establish regulations relating to use standards. Public hearing is now open. You're going to give us a little brief reminder.
If you'd like me to just identify that the use standards that you're looking at are related to the recent amendments to the City of Marion's zoning code and additional districts. There's approximately 12 pages of notes, and I would really, if there's questions from the council, I'd be happy to ask them, or if there's folks from the public that would like to speak to any of these issues, I'd be happy to answer them as well, or address any concerns. But really what we're talking about are specific use standards that would be identified with uses within our zoning code. As an example, outdoor dining as a use would have certain parameters that are spelled out in this code. Gas stations have certain design, aesthetic, and positioning of certain facilities within this document that when they're located adjacent to residential areas, they have to abide by. So if someone comes in and wants to develop a specific property with one of these uses, there's standards that they would have to meet as they bring those site plans forward. So there's a whole host of them, and I wasn't planning to go through them all, but I'd certainly answer any questions related to those if there are any.
Okay. Thank you. At this time, if there are any members of the public who are here to address the council on any of these proposed changes, please come forward now. Anyone in favor? Anyone in opposition of this measure? Okay. Seeing that we don't have anyone, the public hearing is closed.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 18-28, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances and establishing section 176.52, use standards, initial consideration.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 18-28, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances and establishing section 176.52, use standards. This is initial consideration. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving ordinance number 18-28, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion is approved. Number 7 or
7 and 8, I understand we're going to skip.
Okay, would you please?
Yes, on Tuesday there was some discussion regarding the revisions to the ordinance. I did not get the information back to the council in written form, so I just think it'd probably be best before we move forward with that you guys have some time to see a written copy of any amendments. So I'd ask that 7 and 8 just be removed from the agenda, and then we'll bring them back once you guys have a chance to read any of the comments that we make. So.
Okay, so numbers 7 and 8 on the agenda are regarding proposed changes to the ordinance regarding accessory buildings and uses. And we're not taking action on that tonight. It will be at a later meeting. Okay. Sir.
Before we get much farther, Your Honor, items F2 and F4, were those addressed at all of record? I believe it was just commented that we're skipping those items because the public hearings for those are remaining open. Then as a procedural matter, I believe you actually need to vote to table those items.
Okay. So
That would be me.
go ahead and
Okay.
handle that. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, 2.
Thank you.
Yep, make a motion to approve resolution.
Or table.
Well, we gotta open it and then we'll table it.
Got it.
Put it on the table and then we'll table it.
Okay.
Correct? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you'd move in second, and then in the discussion, somebody moved to table it.
Okay.
Make a
Thank you.
motion to approve resolution number 27212, approving vacation of a portion of public property described as the south 120 feet of the 10-foot wide north-south alley between lots 6 and 7 and 8, Block 20, original town, now City of Marion, Lynn County, Iowa. Paul A. and Carolyn Draper, Joint Revocable Trust.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Will and a second by Randy. Discussion?
At this time, Your Honor, I would request that we table this resolution at this time.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to table by Randy and a second by Steve. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstaining?
Abstaining.
Okay.
I can do it. This time I make a motion to approve resolution 27213, approving disposition of a portion of public property described as the south 120 feet of the 10-foot wide north-south alley between lots 6, 7, and 8, Block 20, original town, now City of Marion, Lynn County, Iowa. Paul A. and Carolyn Draper, Joint Revocable Trust.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded for 27213. Discussion?
Your Honor, I propose that we move that to be tabled, resolution number 27213.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to table by Randy and a second by Will. Discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor to table resolution number 27213, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. And any abstentions?
Aye.
Okay. I think we're at item number 9, and I relinquish the gavel back to the mayor.
Councilman Brandt?
Yep. Your Honor, I make a motion to receive and file correspondence regarding proposed storage facility moratorium. Marty and Amy Steffensmeyer, 3914 Forest View Court, Northeast Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 52411.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to receive and file correspondence from Marty and Amy Steffensmeyer regarding the proposed storage facility moratorium. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 27214. This is approving a 12-month moratorium on the expansion or creation of self-service storage facilities, including without limitation the city's acceptance, processing, and approval of land use and building permit applications within the C-3 general commercial, C-4 warehouse commercial, and I-1 restricted industrial zoning districts, and providing an immediate effective date.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27214, approving a 12-month moratorium on the expansion or creation of self-service storage facilities, including without limitation the city's acceptance, processing, and approval of land use and building permit applications within the C3 general commercial, C4 warehouse commercial, and I1 restricted industrial zoning districts, providing for an immediate effective date. Okay, discussion. I have a question. The letter that was just received and filed, what's the opinion on that in terms of that's the one that where they're already in process of working on plan and design and everything?
So the ground was purchased, and there was some grading that was done, but I think it was about a year ago when that was completed. I think the property is currently seeded, as I understand, so it's grass. They were allowing it to settle before the project moved forward, but we have no building plans or building permits have been issued
okay.
on the property.
I guess from the letter it seemed that they were further along to me, but
Well, I think they've invested in the property from the perspective of grading it. But I believe the grading happened a year ago, and they wanted to let the ground settle before they built the facility.
but nothing is pending right now with the staff?
We don't have any building permits or plans that have been submitted.
Other discussion? Okay, and we expect that this will be, the 12 months will be met, and we'll have a,
Correct. Yeah, ideally, we'd be back sooner. We just want to provide some time for that. It takes at least 3 to 4 months just to get it through a process, because it would be an ordinance and it'd be an amendment to zoning code. So 3 readings of an ordinance, planning commission recommendation, and then a public hearing as well at both committees. So.
okay. Yeah, I would appreciate keeping that moving forward so that we're not holding up people's projects. Okay. Other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 27214, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Are there any other department discussions? I guess I don't see anything on the agenda, but.
The only thing I wanted to bring up, Mayor, is that you should have received an email from Rachel talking about next steps for the CIP. We are looking at that afternoon of the 29th for doing a session so we can move that on to the next stage. Just let us know, communicate with Rachel if that date is a problem for you. Otherwise, we've got a calendar mapped out and met with the staff internally on how we can make sure that the council has the information you need to make some good decisions.
Okay. So we're looking at the afternoon of the 29th.
Right.
Of this month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. If there are no other department discussions, at this time we have a time set aside for people who would like to address the council on anything that hasn't already been addressed. Any topic that anyone would like to speak to the council about, please come forward. Okay, council discussion time. Mr. Nat?
I have nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
I just real quick want to thank Joe Pearson for her 10 years at the public library. She is retired. Yesterday was her last day, so this I would like formally to thank her for her service to the city.
I think the only request I would have, and I think I discussed this with City Manager Lon, like on earlier before our meeting, is clarification for the seat for former councilwoman Kim Etzel, that it's been our recommendation to go forward with an appointment for that position. Again, one of the primary reasons is to save the city $25,000 to $35,000 for a 1-year seat. So that's our recommendation. But in the event that does get a petition for the required number of signatures, I think we need to make sure we understand very clearly whether that is the people who vote on that are going to be the people voting on that for the entire city, or just Ward 1. So I think that's important that we all understand that.
Sir.
Good evening. Back in September, City Attorney Kara Bullerman issued her opinion, and that was that it is the City Attorney's position that Kim Etzel was elected by the voters at large. We understand that she represents currently Ward 1, or did up until the time of her occupancy, which became effective, I believe, September 30. But at the time she was elected by the city at large. Therefore, if there is a special election for her seat, then her replacement should be voted on by the public at large, even though it would be to represent Ward 1. It is still the position of the legal department that it would be preferable that her position be filled by appointment rather than by special election. We would not recommend that the council move to special election, but that's certainly within the purview of the council to decide that for themselves. That being said, even if the council does move to fill her seat by appointment, citizens can still file a petition to have an election held. I could discuss that further if the council would like to know more about what that would all entail, but otherwise I believe I've answered the question, at least to Councilman Jensen's question.
Yeah, I think part of the point is make sure there's clarification, because I guess I would have made the assumption, had I not heard this, that only the people in Ward 1 would have had the opportunity to vote for her, since that rule went effective in 2018, or for the election of November 2017. So my initial reaction and assumption would be it would be following that rule, and that's why I think it's important to make sure we have clarification so that everybody does understand, in the event it ever goes that way, that we understand how that will happen.
Absolutely, yeah. And certainly, once that seat comes back open in the general election, then it would be by the residents of Ward 1. But if it were to be refilled by special election, it should be by the city at large.
Yeah,
Mayor Pro Tem?
just a clarification. So if my seat needed to be filled because I was elected by my ward, it would only be by my ward. It's just because Kim was elected before that change went in. That's why there's that at-large vote should this go to a special election.
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We've already, well, come on forward.
I'm Charlie Knudsen, 2835 24th Avenue, Marion, Iowa. I was one of the group that 2 years ago got the petition up to put the ward election issue on the ballot. We had over 17,000 people in this city vote, with 79% of those people say, moving forward, we want to do ward-only voting. Well, this is 2 years after that election. We are moved forward, and I have a real problem trying to really understand the reasoning behind why, when we're moved forward, that this will, if it did go to election, why it would be at large. It just doesn't chime in with 79% of the voters in this city stating 2 years ago what they want to do. Thank you for allowing me to state that.
Thank you, sir. Any other council discussion? For my part, I'll just, we've had a number of ribbon cuttings too for new businesses. We also had a ribbon cutting for Lucor Road the other day. So congratulations to the residents out there. I'm sure that they're very happy with that brand new road, and we thank them for living through the inconvenience and bearing with us. But I think hopefully they see the benefit and the result now. I also want to congratulate Jo Pearson on her retirement and all her service to the city. And today I had the pleasure of representing the city of Marion at the Iowa Librarians Association conference that is happening right now in downtown Cedar Rapids. And I think we have 500 people participating, and I had the honor of welcoming them to our area on behalf of Marion and giving them a welcome and brag a little bit about our city and our library, our amazing library, and the staff and the great programs that they oversee. And it just was made known to me that Don Klein received an award, a significant award from that organization today. So congratulations to Don. With that, thank you, everyone. I appreciate everyone working with me on the order of the meeting and the decorum and the professionalism. And
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.